advice to CEOs is actually think long term. So most of the investors drive towards look for short term value. As a CEO, I would say you have to think long term. You have to make sure that you create an enterprise that will stay on for many years to come, providing value to all the stakeholders. That's probably the most important advice I can give to a CEO, so create a sustainable enterprise. See, first of all, the sector continues to grow, continues to create jobs. Globally, IT services industry is growing around 3-4%, and India is expected to grow around 12 to 14%. At least that's the national estimate. So I feel that the sector is actually doing very well compared to global averages in India. It is creating approximately 2 lakh new jobs every year, which is probably one of the highest in terms of job creation. So the sector is doing well. Having said that, because of the changes in technology like cloud, mobile, big data, analytics, social, etc., the IT sector has to evolve. IT sector has to create new products and services. So for example, they have to create cloud-based services, cloud-based products and IP and things like that. So that is a transition that they need to make in order to stay relevant to their customers. You need to look at automation, you need to look at changing the way you deliver services, you need to look at increasing productivity, revenue productivity, and go up the value chain. Which is exactly what I am also saying. Because the costs are going up, you need to increase the productivity of the people, clearly, so that you remain profitable. So that's where the automation will go up. It will change the way a service is delivered. You will require less number of people to do the job, which means that you will recruit less number of people. You are not letting go. Letting go people is very different from recruiting less number of people. Which means that existing people's jobs are not at risk. When you say letting go people, you are saying existing people's jobs are at risk. That's not correct. Future employment is affected. That is very different. Because if you say letting go people, you scare the people who are already employed. That's not correct. Automation is definitely increasing in every business. Automation is increasing. Even if you think about cars, driverless cars are going to come. Okay, in the US, if you look at employment data, the highest number of people employed in a particular profession is drivers. 3 million drivers are there in the US. If driverless cars come, that job is at risk. Right? So every sector, not just IT, will be affected by automation. Factories will employ less number of people. So every sector will be affected by automation. When I used to study, etc., we used to have somebody called a typist. Today you don't have that, we all become typists. So as automation, as technology adoption increases, jobs are going to get replaced. And in software also it will happen over time. Now as long as you are able to retrain your people, as long as people learn new skills, they will still be employed. It's just that you need to learn new skills. No, see, I don't think anybody is cutting down staff strength. What they're saying is we may not be recruiting as much as we have been recruiting in the past. I do not know of any of the large IT services companies having let go people. I don't know any instance like that.
But they are cutting it down. Like
no, they are not adding as much as they would in the past. I don't know if you take all the majors, TCS, Wipro, HCL, Infosys. I don't think any instance is there of letting go people. Yeah, cost per employee will go up, right? Every year you have to. Cost per employee is revenue per employee may. Cost per employee is going up because every year you have to pay people more. You have to give them an increment, and so cost per employee will go up. Revenue per employee may stay same or may decrease. If you do less and less value-added services, the revenue per employee may go down. But cost per employee is actually going up, and that's the reason why you need to increase productivity, you need to look for automation, and hence the need to recruit the same number of people may come down for the same revenue. So as productivity increases, you recruit less number of people. So you have to create a sustainable enterprise. You have to make sure that you are creating value for all your stakeholders. So you have to make sure that you are creating value for your customers, you have to create value for your employees, you have to create value for society, and you have to be a good corporate citizen. So that every stakeholder sees value in the existence of this company. Then you can say that you have created a sustainable enterprise, and that enterprise, as long as it's creating value for its stakeholders, will survive for the long term. Longevity is clearly the number one measure in my book to measure the value of the company or the success of the company. First and foremost, ease of doing business. How easy is it for a company to be set up, new company to be set up? How much time does it take? How many approvals are required? Can it be done online? Ideally, it should be done online. It should be done within 48 hours or 72 hours maximum, so that you can get going very quickly. The second is the policies related to funding startups. How do you look at these funds? Do you give tax incentives so that more number of people invest in startups and things like that? Third is closing down business. It's equally important to look at closing down businesses because many startups will fail. And if it takes forever to close down a business, then you will have lots and lots of dormant businesses that no value to anybody. So you must make it easy to close down a business. You have to look at approvals that are required to get into certain sectors like e-commerce and things like that. You need to allow foreign investors to invest in these businesses. There are many different policies that are relevant to create a vibrant ecosystem for new business creation, investment into businesses, labor policies, employment policies and things like that. And finally, student startup policies. I strongly believe that students must be encouraged to create a startup while studying. So how can you enable that to happen? So while you are studying in college undergraduate, you should be able to start a business if you want and run that business. Certain states like Kerala, Andhra Pradesh are already in the process. Kerala is already established and Andhra Pradesh is in the process of establishing a student startup policy.